In one place, there is an announcement about an appeal to the public not to leave the house because of the training of the armed forces of the National Defense Army. In addition, residents are requested to ignore the noise and whatever happens. But in reality, that occurs is not in accordance with the previous announcement. This shows that there is a house that was completely destroyed. The house becomes a target for a group of armed men who walk around the house. On the other hand, a man with a sniper is monitoring the house from a distance. Soon, the man makes an attempt to shoot the target in the house. Inside the house are a girl, a wounded woman, and an unconscious boy. It turns out that the sniper named Songjo is targeting a girl named Jian. They all have the ambition to kill the girl, but Jian have an ability that men do not know. Ji is able to understand the situation she is in. Even Jian can shoot at the man who carries the sniper. The scene then moves before the incident at the house occurs. Jian is at the police station because she managed to beat up the man who wanted to rape her. The police are surprised and confused because the young Jian can beat the man. Moreover, Jian seems to avoid CCTV when she beats the man. The police who handled the case finally released Jian because the police know that she was a victim. But not long after that, Jian gets a call from the police that Jian's uncle, is dead due to suicide. Jian, who hears this, immediately goes to the hospital. Jian thinks it's strange that her uncle died. Jian rushes to the hospital in a taxi whose driver is Jinman's friend. The taxi driver looks shocked to learn that Jinman, who was known to be strong and brave, died by suicide. Jian, who feels odd about the death of her uncle, immediately asks the police on duty, but the policeman said that he found nothing strange about Jinman's body. Jian then believes what the police say. Jian comes back to the house of Jinman, her uncle, to take a photo of Jinman. When Jian gets there, a young man approaches Jian. The man's name is Zhongmin. For a moment, Jian remembers that Zhongmin was her friend who always helped when she was bullied at school. Then Zhongmin, who is an IT expert, claims that he is a part-time worker who helps Jinman in the business of selling water hoses in an online shop. Zhongmin also says that he is the one who finds Jinman dead in the bathroom. Jian, who listens to Zhongmin's explanation, can only thank him for helping Jian's uncle. After that, Zhongmin helps Jian to get a photo of Jinman for the funeral. Zhongmin helps Jian by editing Jinman's photo and the family photo into a single photo of Jinman. After Jian gets Jinman's photo with Zhongmin's help, Jian goes to meet the mourners. Jian sees several mourners who are unfamiliar to her. Even Jinman's friends don't recognize these people. Moreover, there is a bouquet of flowers from a mysterious person. Jinman's friends are sure that the man's name is unfamiliar. Then Jinman's friends feel lost. Other than that, Jinman is known as a kind and helpful person. On the other hand, Zhongmin arrives at Jinman's house to clean up the blood where Jinman died in the bathroom. Zhongmin finds a cell phone belonging to Jinman. Back to Jian, after seeing Jinman's body cremated, Jian, who never cries, becomes the topic of people's conversation. They say that Jian doesn't care about Jinman, who took care of her since she was a child. But at home, Jian remembers her life being with her uncle. Jian can't keep from crying. At the same time, Zhongmin comes and sees Jian crying. Zhongmin comes to give Jinman the cell phone he found in the bathroom. Zhongmin says that the cell phone is probably Jinman's cell phone for his work. Jian then opens her uncle's cell phone. Jian soon finds a message on the cell phone that Jinman has a huge balance. When she looks at the balance, Jian doesn't believe it. Jian then asked Zhongmin to see if it was true that Jinman's large amount of money was from the sales of the water hoses. But after Zhongmin searched through the web, Zhongmin says that such a large balance cannot be from the water hoses sales because the profit from the sales is not that big. Zhongmin then looks for something on Jinman's online site. Zhongmin unexpectedly finds an illegal website called Mirth Help. Jian, who sees it, realizes that the words Mirth Help is the tattoo on Jinman's hand. Jian becomes suspicious of the website and tells Zhongmin to open the Mirth Help website. They are shocked to discover that the Mirth Help site is an illegal weapons trading site managed by Jinman. Soon Jian gets a message from someone who is a buyer of illegal weapons. Jian then says that she will return the buyer's money because Mirth Help will close. But it turns out that the person knows Jian. He also mentions that after Jinman passed away, it is now Jian's turn to die. While Jian and Zhongmin are still surprised by the message, the doorbell suddenly rings. This makes Jian and Zhongmin scared. Jian then approaches the guest and tries to ask the purpose of the woman's arrival. The woman was the injured woman at the beginning of the scene named Min Hai. Min Hai claims that she is Jinman's Chinese tutor, but behind that it turns out that Min Hai is preparing to enter Jinman's house with a gun. At the same time, someone texted Jinman's cell phone. The messenger says that you will kill Jian directly. Jian is not allowed to allow someone to kill her. At that tense moment, Jian is again surprised to see Min-hai approaching Jin-man's house. Suddenly, Min-hai is at the entrance door, which makes Jian even more afraid. Not only that, but sophisticated drones with guns arrive at Jin-man's house to attack Jian. In that terrifying moment, the scene jumps back to 7 years ago when Jian was a child. Jian meets Jin-man for the first time. It turns out that Jin-man didn't come home for many years. Jin-man also didn't get married because he is so busy with himself. By the night, Jin-man and Jian begin to get acquainted. They have dinner together with Jian's father and mother and also Jian's grandmother. One day, after a few days of Jin-man's return home, Jin-man's mother or Jian's grandmother died. Jin-man feels that there is something strange about the death of his mother. On the day of his mother's funeral, Jin-man wants his mother to be autopsied, but his older brother refuses Jin-man's request. Jian's father refuses because he knows better about their mother's sickly condition. In the middle of the argument, Jian accidentally drops something. Therefore, Jian's mother asks Jin-man to take Jian home. Long story short, Jin-man and Jian arrive at the apartment. Meanwhile, Jian's father gets a mysterious guest who claims to be Jin-man's friend. At the same time, Jin-man gets a call from someone. Jin-man looks very serious. Then he immediately says goodbye to Jian. Jin-man tells Jian not to open the door to anyone. Jin-man then says that there will be someone who is Jin-man's friend coming to see Jian. Before letting the man in, Jian must give a riddle to the man. Shortly after Jin-man leaves, there is a man coming to see Jian. Then Jian gives a question to him, but the man breaks the door and forces his way in. This makes Jian really scared. Fortunately, Jin-man's friend arrives on time. He comes straight to finish the man off. Then Jin-man's friend gives the answer to the riddle that Jian gave him. Then the man asks Jian to hide because other criminals are arriving. Shortly afterward, Jian hears an argument outside her room. Jian, who is curious, then opens her room's door. Unfortunately, Jin-man's friend is killed by a criminal who was also at the funeral. Jian cleverly escapes through the window. The killer sees Jian and tries to persuade Jian to come back into the apartment. But Jian chooses to go down by dropping herself onto a pile of garbage. Unfortunately, when she manages to escape and run, Jian is hit by a car. Because of this accident, Jian gets into the hospital on the spot. Jian feels unsafe in the hospital. She wakes up and sees a wolf in front of her. It turns out that the wolf is a form of her fear. She is afraid and decides to leave the room. There is no one to accompany Jian in the hospital because it turns out that Jian's parents are killed by a mysterious person who claims to be Jin-man's friend. When Jian walks out of the room, the two criminals who came to her apartment earlier come to the hospital to look for Jian. She even walks with difficulty. She finds no way out other than the morgue at the end of the hall. Finally, Jian decides to hide in the morgue. Jian is almost caught hiding in the corpse room. Fortunately, she gets into the corpse storage box. She finds her mother's corpse there, and she's shocked. Jian looks shocked, but she can't cry. On the other hand, the criminals almost find Jian, who enters the corpse room. Fortunately, without Jian expecting it, Jin-man quietly comes looking for Jian. Jin-man finally manages to defeat the criminal. 1 month later, Jin-man takes Jian to move into his house. From then on, Jian doesn't want to communicate much with Jin-man. Jin-man is also indifferent and chooses not to treat Jian. Jin-man does like this to educate his niece to be a tough and strong girl in all situations. But behind Jin-man's seeming indifference to Jian, Jin-man loves Jian very much. In fact, he feels sorry for Jian, who lost her parents. Jian decides not to talk either at home or at school. This makes Jian bullied by her friends. But there is a boy, Jian's friend named Zhongmin, keeps protecting Jian. Jian feels upset because the students keep making fun of Jian because she doesn't have her parents anymore. Jian immediately hit them with a chair. As a result, Jian's teacher calls Jin-man with the intention of asking Jin-man to take part in Jian's growth. But Jin-man let Jian solve her own problems. Day by day, Jian grows more independent. At home, Jian and Jin-man eat their meals individually. They live together without speaking at all. Jian becomes familiar with Jin-man's coldness. Jian doesn't even tell him about the incident at school when she gets bullied. Jian lives through difficult days. One day, Jian is put in a warehouse by her friends from morning to night. Then Jian is afraid to see the wolf there, which is actually a form of her fear. Jian is then fearful and hopes that Jin-man will come to help. Soon, Jin-man comes to help Jian. She is very happy and hugs Jin-man. From then on, Jian is talking again. Jian becomes quite close to Jin-man after that incident. Then Jian communicates with Jin-man by putting notes. Then the scene returns to the present where Zhongmin says that the illegal weapons trading site is very sophisticated. Only people with certain color codes can buy weapons. Jian explains that there are 4 color codes. Red is the code for killers. They can buy guns, bombs, and things like that. The second color is purple, which is the color for spies. The third is the yellow color code for the cleaning crew who can buy drugs, detergents, and cleaning tools, which are used to clean up traces of corpses. While the fourth color code is green. Jian explains that the green color code is without a category. There is even an exception that people with other color codes should not attack the people with green code. Jian also says that now the owners of the green code are 2 people. They are Jian and Jian. Hearing that, Jian is puzzled because she doesn't know anything about the green code or mirth help. Not long after, they both feel a shaking happening. It turns out that the fence of the house was destroyed by sophisticated drones equipped with weapons. Jian, who feels her life is in danger, quickly dodges the drone's shots. Jian doesn't expect that Jian's house have glass and bulletproof doors. This makes Jian and Jian run and be able to hide. But a drone keeps following Jian. Luckily, Jian hides in a bulletproof cabinet. Unfortunately, the drone can open the cabinet. Jian, who is scared, can only remain silent. Fortunately, Jian comes and manages to knock down a drone with a catapult from Jian. It reveals that the arm attack on Jian was planned carefully by the killers who are members of Jian's illegal weapons trading site. They move with a killer leader named Mr. Kim. The night before the incident at Jian's house, the killers, including Songjo and Mr. Kim, gather together. They discuss the plan to kill Jian. They look happy and excited to kill Jian as soon as possible. They want to put an end to the mirth help founded by Jian. Shortly after the discussion, they then leave with sophisticated and complete weapons to Jian's house. One day, when Jian is a teenager, Jian sees that Jian still can't protect herself. Until at one point, Jian invites Jian to go to Mount Jurisan with the excuse of renovating the house. When they arrive at the mountain, Jian gets sick with a fever, and his leg is hurt. Jian tries to call the hospital for help, but there is no signal. Then Jian tells Jian to find help by going down the mountain. Jian is upset at first because she thinks they should have stayed at the hotel instead of climbing Mount Jurisan. But Jian advises Jian that it's better to find a solution in a critical situation than to argue. Jian doesn't know that Jian is putting her to the test. With Jian's catapult, Jian bravely goes in search of an emergency phone in another area of Mount Jurisan. After Jian goes away, Jian calls his friend by the name of Payson. From their conversation, it reveals that Jian pretends to be sick with a fever in order to test Jian's ability to survive without him. On the other hand, Jian continues to walk following the map. But in the middle of the road, Jian meets several dogs who are about to bite her. Apart from that, Jian also sees a wolf that always appears when Jian is afraid since her childhood. Jian tries to fight the wolf, which is a form of her fear. Jian bravely fights the wolf. Fortunately, Jian comes in time and saves Jian from the wild dogs. The next day, Jian instructs Jian to learn how to aim objects with a catapult. Moreover, Jian introduces the gun to Jian. Both have it disassemble and reassemble the parts of the gun. In the end, Jian is good at using a gun. But Jian still doesn't know why Jian teaches her to shoot. The scene is back when Jian's house is in ruins. The killers are on their way to Jian's house. They lead by a man by the name of Mr. Kim. Meanwhile, Jian and Jian decide to leave the room by taking cover from the bulletproof cabinet door. Jian intends to drop another drone with a catapult, but other drones are stronger than the previous drone. This makes Jian and Jian bounce as a result of the drone's shot into the bulletproof cabinet. Jian and Jian are scared. Until both of their lives are threatened, Min-hai comes to help Jian and Jian. Jian, who initially suspects Min-hai, is still wary even though Min-hai tells Jian to hide. Likewise with Jian, who doesn't trust Min-hai. He attacks the woman. Unfortunately, he faints because Min-hai injects something into Jian's neck. Jian tries to hit Min-hai, but Min-hai successfully holds Jian and scans Jian's hand, which contains a green color code. Shortly after that, Min-hai feels that someone is eyeing the two of them from afar. Min-hai immediately kicks Jian towards the kitchen. Min-hai tells Jian that she wants Jian to do something carefully like Jian. In the midst of this tense situation, Min-hai tells the purpose of her arrival, which is to protect Jian. Min-hai wants to do this because Jian owns the green color code. Min-hai tries to make Jian understand the meaning of the green code by telling Jian's experience of getting bullied and humiliated by someone both at school and work. But the people who are bullying Jian move schools or just disappear. Min-hai explains that all of that happens because it is the duty of other codes to protect Jian as the owner of the green code. After Min-hai explains everything to Jian, she feels that the situation is getting worse. Therefore, Min-hai decides to throw a smoke bomb so that Seonju's view from afar can be disturbed. Min-hai hopes that Seonju can't easily see the position of Min-hai, Jian, and Jongmin. Seonju feels annoyed by Min-hai's actions. He then orders someone to use a drone to remove the smoke that is blocking his sight. Soon the drone goes into Jinman's house and sucks out the smoke. This is beyond Min-hai's expectations, which makes her off guard. As a result, Seonju manages to injure Min-hai's arm from a distance. The scene then looks like the beginning of the movie when Min-hai, Jian, and Jongmin are the target of Seonju. And not far from the location of Jinman's house, the killer gang led by Mr. Kim is getting closer to Jinman's house. In the midst of the tense situation, Jian then remembers about Jinman's advice about blind spots that cannot be seen. Therefore, Jian uses a mirror to find out Seonju's position and his blind spot. Soon Jian manages to find out if Seonju can't aim at Jian if Jian is on the top. After confirming the blind spot, Jian decides to jump from the top of the refrigerator to the sofa to pick up the gun that Min-hai drops. Fortunately, Jian is safe and falls right on the sofa. Then Jian flips the sofa, which turns out to have a sniper on the bottom. Min-hai and Jian are very surprised and never expect Jinman to keep a sniper under the sofa. Jian immediately uses the sniper to strike back at Seonju, but Jian's shot attempt misses and doesn't hit Seonju. This makes Seonju so safe. Min-hai, who sees the situation, then takes advantage of taking cover behind the sofa with Jian. In addition, Min-hai tells Jian and Jongmin to go to Jinman's warehouse, which is not far from the house. Before Jian leaves, one of Mr. Kim's subordinates enters the house and intends to kill Jian. Fortunately, Min-hai skillfully gets ahead of Mr. Kim's subordinates. Min-hai then tells Jian and Jongmin to go to Jinman's workplace because there is a secret room there. Meanwhile, Min-hai will hold Mr. Kim's subordinates and Seonju. After Jian and Seonju leave, Min-hai immediately takes aim at Seonju. However, Min-hai's shot misses. As a result, Seonju's subordinate died. After that, Min-hai shoots with Mr. Kim's troops, who are getting closer to Min-hai. On the other hand, Min-hai sees Mr. Kim's subordinates chasing Jian and Seonmin. Min-hai immediately runs to help Jian and Jongmin. After running away in a tense state, Jian successfully enters Jinman's workplace. Jian finds a secret elevator that can only be accessed after entering a code. Jian is frustrated because she doesn't know the access code. Jian tries to enter Jinman's date of birth and her date of birth, but the code always seems to fail. Jian tries to remember Jinman's words about numbers. Jian finally recalls that Jinman always asks Jian to remember her student's identification number. After Jian enters the code, she finally gets access to the elevator. The elevator takes Jian and Jongmin downstairs. When they arrive downstairs, Jian and Jongmin are extremely surprised to see lots of weapons and sophisticated equipment. But unexpectedly, there's suddenly a masked man. The man claims that he is Brother. Brother then points a gun at Jian. Meanwhile, Min-hai, who is still on the top, is trying to block Mr. Kim's troops. With Min-hai's experience and skill in fighting, Min-hai immediately turns off all the lights, until one of Mr. Kim's subordinates turns on the weapon light that he uses. After seeing the light, Min-hai shoots the killer to death. At night, Jian and Junmayan ride a motorcycle without wearing a helmet with the aim of taking Jian home. Arriving in front of the yard, Jian immediately rushes into the house and says thank you. But Junmayan calls Jian, so Jian stops walking and they are about to kiss. But the gate is simultaneously opened by Jinman. Jian almost falls down and it makes Jinman catch her. Jinman comes out and admonishes Junmayan for being illegal in carrying her. Junmayan is asked about his driver's license, but does not show it. Also, a motorcycle exhaust is offered to be fixed by Uncle because the exhaust that is used by Junmayan is noisy. Junmayan also greets Jinman. Jinman is angry at Junmayan for being a teenager with a motorcycle without a helmet and illegal motorcycle modifications. Junmayan says that she does not have a driver's license. Then Junmayan quickly leaves to say goodbye and drives closer to the motorcycle. Jian yells at Junmayan saying that she will call them when she gets home. Jian is reprimanded by Jinman for Junmayan's disrespectful behavior to Jinman. At Jian's workplace, there's a group of kids talking about her, including Minsuk. They say that Jian has 2 jobs at once with the gimbap shop, and they laugh at Jian about who she lives with. But Minsuk replies that Jian lives with her uncle. Jian's friend also asks about the whereabouts of Jian's parents, but they don't want to say because of the trauma Jian has caused to them when they discuss her parents. Soon, Junmayan comes and enters the place where Jian works. He wants to see Jian, who is working there. Junmayan comes with her friends, but Junmayan does not want her friends to see that Jian works at the place. So he decides to go out and find another place to eat. Seeing this, Jian just mourns Junmayan through the glass with a sad face. Jian is eating at the dining table while listening to the news. There is news of people who use weapons without permission and will get punished. Not long after, Jian comes home from school. She immediately sits in front of Jian while asking about the attitude Jian have towards his friends, including towards Min-suk. Jian brings up Jian's behavior towards her friends in the past with an annoyed tone. Jian then replies that Min-suk stole Jian's watch at that time, so Jian went as far as to stare at Min-suk for 10 minutes. Jian says that he just wanted to make sure. Then Min-suk apologized and returned Jian's watch. Then Kim Jinki's tutor is arrested for harassment. Jian explains that he is Jian's legal guardian, so Jian must be her protector. After that, Jian asks about Jian. Jian replies that teenagers shouldn't ride motorcycles and not wear helmets. Jian then says that she's working to save money and move out of the house she's currently living in, and that she feels different from her peers. Jian feels that she is locked up even though Jian raised her. Jian can only be silent. Jian feels that she is not an army child who likes to make trouble, so she wonders why Jian always interferes with everything about Jian. Because Jian just wants to be like her other friends to be able to hang out. Jian replies and asks to be able to hit Jian's face if Jian wants to move from the current place. Then Jian asks about her father and mother who died, because Jian feels that she should have already known at her current age. But in the end, Jian still doesn't answer and changes the topic. Because Jian is annoyed, she tries to hit Jian's face from behind, but she couldn't do it. After that, Jian tries to kick Jian. The result is Jian is injured because she kicks the items in the kitchen. Jian leaves and Jian gets more and more annoyed with what Jian has done. There is always no answer to what Jian asks Jian. At the host sales workplace, Jian practices driving and her uncle declares that Jian has passed and can drive. Seeing Jian behind, Jian steers the car towards Jian. She then gets out and tries to get closer to Jian with the intention of hitting Jian's face quickly, but she fails. Jian just tells Jian to return the form while walking away. Jian is still upset and tries to chase after Jian, but Uncle gets in the way and pushes Jian, causing Jian to fall down. He says that it's not good to fight with family. Also, Jian, who is slow like a snail, will not be able to touch Jian. Jian then is about to hit Uncle, but Uncle manages to hold Jian until she's out of breath and faint. After a while, Jian wakes up and in front of her there are Jian and Payson who are working. Jian wakes up and says that it is heartless Uncle makes her faint. Uncle and Jian are heartless indeed, since they make Jian angry and kick the hose. At Payson's place of business, Payson is cooking to prepare the order that is ordered by the customer. Jian opens the door and comes to ask Payson about what she has done this afternoon. Jian is interested and wants to learn Muay Thai by paying 50,000 won per week from Payson. Payson agrees to it because he says that he needs money for his child's school. Until finally, Jian starts practicing Muay Thai every day diligently with Payson. Jian gets stronger every day and keeps trying to do what Payson tells Jian to do. Jian always tries to hit Jian's face every day, but she still fails. The days pass. The higher intensity of training does not make Jian easily tired. Even Jian works harder and practices. Then Jian meets Min-suk, who is being bullied by men on the side of the road, until finally Min-suk can escape. The three men are angry and want Jian to take responsibility for her escape. It turns out the man tries to hit Jian's face, but Jian could avoid it too. Jian responds to the punches from the two men violently until she falls, but when the third man pulls out a knife, Jian comes to save Jian. Then the police arrive on the spot because Min-suk called the police. Jian and Jian then go home by car while advising Jian to run when someone brings a knife because it's not easy to defeat even though Jian is stronger already. After that, Jian gets off in front of Payson's shop. In front of Payson's shop, there are many people who are standing and shouting about their fate because it turns out that Payson runs away with the money he has borrowed. Payson leaves a letter to Jian saying that Jian is no longer slow as a snail. Then Jian finds a man who always watches her somewhere in the basement. So in the end, Jian makes the man named Brother is tied to a chair. She asks him to explain what really happened. Brother doesn't want to discuss it, and he is more worried about Min Hai, who is out of bullets as well as medicine. But Jian ignores this, until finally Jiang gagges the man's mouth with a cloth because he thinks he would give false and tricky information. Jiang then sees that there is a sale of weapons from the basement room. After that, the man who always stalks Jian manages to escape by telling Jian not to trust Jiang. Brother comes out of the room and manages to catch Jiang until he ties him up and gagges him. Brother reads out the points he has promised and asks Jian to become the next heir. Jian agrees, and in the end, Brother obeys what Jian says because Jian is his boss. Jian also tells Brother to untie Jiang, but Brother refuses. Jian then takes brother's gun and points it at his body and asks brother to release Jiangmin. It makes brother obey what he is told. In the basement cave room, Jian is confused about whether to trust Jiangmin or brother. Jian tries to find evidence that Jiangmin has killed his uncle. Brother then asks Jian to open the file on the computer. Jian tries to find the file requested by the spy, but Jiangmin manages to melt Jian's heart with everything Jiangmin has done in the past. Jian's heart melted and she trusts Jiangmin. In the end, Jian tells brother to get out of the basement and give Min Hai weapons and medicine so that Jian would release Jiangmin. Brother also obeys the orders by saying that Jian could not leave the shopping center. Besides that, brother also gives Jian a gift of glasses and puts it on the table. After brother goes down and meets Min Hai hands over a gun because brother is wearing a mask. In the end, brother takes off the mask he is using. After that, brother and Min Hai are looking at each other because they haven't seen each other for a long time. After brother leaves, Jiangmin hugs Jian with a happy feeling, not expecting that what Jian did is wrong. The choice Jian made is not the one that should be. In fact, Jiangmin has evil intentions towards Jian. Jiangmin also manages to trick Jian and make Jian faint from the anesthetic. During the day, Jiangmin comes to the warehouse. He approaches Jinman and shows him the paper for his part-time job. Jiangmin says that he knows Jinman because he went to elementary school with Jian. Jian is kept in a room with Jiangmin. Her hands are tied together with the chair she's sitting on. Jiangmin then receives a phone call. The person on the phone tells Jiangmin to kill Jian. Jiangmin points his gun at Jian, then Jian asks about his childhood that was once held captive by Jiangmin. Jiangmin replies that he just wants to find out whether Jian is mute or not. Jian rebels in her chair. She doesn't understand what is going on. At a supermarket, Jiangmin is chatting with his male friend about wars in the world, buying and selling weapons, and hacking websites. They are walking back to their boarding house. Jiangmin's friend then asks what the name of the site is. Jiangmin answers, Mirth Help. When they are about to climb the stairs, there is Twin who is smoking. Twin is staring at Jiangmin until he goes upstairs to his room. Unexpectedly, Twin is already in Jiangmin's room. Yanghan also tells Jiangmin that it is Jiangmin who hacked Mirth Help. Jiangmin and his friend are immediately punched by Twin. They are both ordered to track the location of the IP, otherwise they would be shot. Then Jiangmin manages to track it down. Meanwhile, Jiangmin's friend is unsuccessful, and he is shot in the head by Twin. Jiangmin asks if they would clean up his friend's corpse. Since the incident, Jiangmin feels he is different from others. Yanghan also shows a picture of Jinman and Jian. Inside the warehouse, Jiangmin is carrying a coil of cable. He's so tired that the cable isn't in the right place. Jinman helps him, then exits the warehouse. Jiangmin also takes Jinman's pen, which contains a small CCTV. After that, Jiangmin gets a message reminding him that he has 1 day left. Then Jiangmin says he has a stomachache, so he could go inside Jinman's house, and Jinman allows him. Arriving at the toilet, Jiangmin washes his face. He leaves the toilet and is about to open the door to one of the rooms. But just as Jiangmin is about to open it, there is a voice saying, "What are you doing?" He's immediately looking for the source of the voice, and it is on the wall of the house. Jinman enters the house and asks Jiangmin whether he is a computer engineering graduate or not. Jiangmin says yes. Jinman then asks to fix his broken computer, and he would add the cost of Jiangmin's wages. Jiangmin says yes. In Jinman's room, Jiangmin is checking Jinman's broken computer. He mentions that his computer is affected by malpractice. He will format it first and recover the files as best he can. Jiangmin manages to hack into Jinman's account. Now he can see all his activities. Then Twin also enters Jiangmin's room. He points a gun at him. Jiangmin says that if Twin kills him now, then everything will be in vain. Jiangmin is getting more and more pressured until he finally says that he has a great plan. Yanghan asks Jiangmin to explain it. In the room where Jian is kept, Jiangmin explains how he killed Jian's uncle. In the living room of Jinman's house, Jiangmin is tied up on the ceiling with a bloody face. He promises to release Jian if Jinman releases him. Jiangmin rants that he's a bastard to Jinman. Jinman comes closer and uses a knife into Jiangmin's mouth while saying, "Tell Babylon to keep his promise." Jiangmin then falls down after the rope binding him is cut by Jinman. By the time Jiangmin goes into the toilet, he has found Jinman, who has already committed suicide in the bathtub. Jian cries when seeing her uncle dead in this CCTV footage. As the tears turns to laughter, Jian tells Jiangmin that he is just an errand boy who acts smart. Jian doubts that Babylon will let Jiangmin live. Jian then tells him that it looks like before Jiangmin kills her, there will be a woman who kills Jiangmin first. Jian believes her uncle has prepared everything carefully, so he's sure many are protecting him. Jian also says Jiangmin should have made a deal with her, not Babylon. Jian is angry at the distraction Jian has created. Jian is even more annoying, telling Jian that he is a scared bastard, barking like a pack dog. Jian immediately takes the gun and points it at Jian's head. Jian immediately cuts Jian's legs so that the bullet wouldn't hit her. Jian also bites Jian's neck so that his chair falls, and it becomes a golden opportunity for her. Jian is free from Jian's grip and pushes him, causing his ear to bleed. Jian immediately goes downstairs to get the gun that is on display. Then Jian hides to avoid Jian's shots. When pressed, Jian remembers her uncle's words to be able to use everything around her when she is pressed, using any possible things to survive. In the car, Sonjo is angry with the person he's on the phone with. Sonjo mentions that he almost kills Jian many times, and at the moment, the person doesn't want her to be dead. He asks what if he has already killed her earlier. Then Sonjo looks behind him and sees a jeep comes closer to him. It turns out Kuma arrives with drinks for the two of them. Back to the warehouse where Jian and Jian are fighting. Jian mentions that the world they live in now is not about good or bad, but about strong or weak. Jian, who used to be at the top of the food chain, died in his device, which means he's stronger than Jian. When Jian takes a step, he doesn't realize there is liquid on the floor. He slips and his foot goes into the rope that Jian has prepared. Jian then punches and kicks Jian until he is unconscious. Meanwhile, Sonjo and Kuma are enjoying their drinks while sitting in the open trunk of the car. They talk about the work they are currently doing. Sonjo says as long as he's a member of Babylon, everything he does is legal. Sonjo says it looks like Mr. Kim is dead and it looks like Minhai killed him. Then a white car comes into the no entry area with a sticker on the car that says Bubble Car Wash. Finally, they pull out the item. It's shaped like a robot dog with a gun muzzle. At first, everyone underestimates it, but after it is set up neatly, the robot amazes everyone. After that, Babylon's troops are ready to attack Jian's house. As Sonjo monitors with his binoculars, he sees trails covering Jian's door. He tells Kuma and the rest of the troops to run over to Jian's house. Sonjo doesn't realize that Jian has prepared everything. The robot dog can see through objects, so Minhai, who is behind the trails, is visible. Minhai realizes that Jian won't send her to his house if the enemy is easy. She hands the gun to her older brother, telling him not to die. In the warehouse with only Jian and Jian, Jian sighs as she understands everything and notices the mirth help handbook Jian has made. It said, "Jian, I'm sure you are confused, but there is no time. So I will give you a choice. First, if you want to escape this situation, turn to page 87. Use Mirth Help's back door that leads to the exit to escape. At the end of that path is your new identity, enough money for your new life, and the phone number of the person who will help you start over. You will have a new identity. You will be able to forget everything about this life and start over. Second, if you want to join the people who are trying to protect you or those who will fight with you to get through this obstacle and protect this place, turn this page and read this guide carefully." Then inside Jian's house, the robot dog is drilling into the trellis barrier between Babylon's army and Minhai. The robot dog gets stuck and eventually malfunctions. Once the trellis is open, Minhai and her brother immediately rush out to fire at the Babylon troops. The two of them take cover behind the sofa, but they can shoot accurately, so the Babylon troops fall. Then Jian arrives. Minhai, who is hit by a bullet, immediately comes closer to her, and finally Jian throws a grenade at the Babylon troops who are about to shoot Minhai. Sonjo is shocked by the explosion. Unfortunately, he couldn't find out the conditions there because his robot dog is damaged. While Jian is treating Minhai, Kuma comes to his senses. He shoots Minhai and takes Jian to his room. Sonjo calls Kuma and tells him not to kill Jian. Kuma tells Sonjo that the only troops left are himself. Kuma nods, but he would destroy Jian's face because she has dared to destroy his face. When Kuma is about to stab Jian in the cheek, Master Payson manages to kill Kuma first. Then Payson reaches his hand to Jian after standing up. Jian immediately hugs Payson. Payson says that there is no time, they have to get ready since Bale is coming. Jian asks who Bale is. It turns out he is the one who killed her parents. Then a battle begins. The mission is to protect the businessman's safe return to Korea. Jimin, Payson, and Junkyul protect the man, while Sonjo and Seong Hwan are on top to fight the other rebels. When Sonjo is almost stabbed in the head by a knife, he is helped by Songwon. Then the rebels appear together in front of them. Luckily, Bale is just in time. He shoots all the rebels. Jimin's team is saved. Bale comes down from the top of the building to make sure there are no more rebels. But Sonjo is worried why Bale doesn't appear yet, so Songwon checks it off. When Songwon is downstairs, he sees many bodies of civilians who have been shot, and he sees that Bale has killed the civilians. Then he is shocked and panicked, because in this mission, no civilians should be killed. After that, Sanjo comes asking what is going on, and Sangwon tells him that Bale killed civilians, but Sanjo is on Bale's side. Instantly, Sanjo shoots Sangwon right in the head. He says there should be no witnesses. During the shooting, Jimin's team is hearing the gunshots, so Jimin and Payson go to see what happened. When Jimin and Payson arrive, Sangwon is lying dead and they ask what happened. Not long after, a small child comes carrying a gun that could not be fired, but Bale shoots the child dead. Meanwhile, Jimin gives the order wait, but Bale says that there should be no witnesses. In court, Sanjo and Jimin are the witnesses to Bale's killing of a civilian, but when questioned by the judge, both say that there is no civilian there and that they do not see him. For Jimin, that is not the fact, but since he is a captain, he has to protect his men. He behaves like that. The verdict of the trial is Bale is not guilty due to lack of evidence. In the locker room, Jimin asks Sanjo what Bale means by saying there are no witnesses. He also asks what witnesses are for, then he falls silent. Then Jimin informs General Lee Yonghan that the bullet in Songwa's head is not the bullet that is used by the rebels. The general then says that there is no soul in Bale's eyes, he is born to fight. After that, it turns out Jimin, Bale, and his team are mercenaries who have different missions according to orders. From that incident, Jimin does not want to be on the same team with Bale. On the next mission trip on the plane, Sanjo and Payson almost have a fight because previously there are unpleasant words that are spoken by them. However, when Jimin tells them to stop, Sanjo does not obey. But when Bale tells Sanjo to stop, he obeys Bale. Arriving at the location of the new mission, Jimin warns Bale not to act alone and decide on his own. Then the mission begins, but Bale does not fulfill his promise. He kills civilians. When Bale sees a room, there are harlots there, but he does not save them. He kills them by throwing grenades into the room. It isn't long before Jimin and Payson hear the explosion and come there. This is noticed by Jimin, so he points his gun at Bale and intends to kill him. But it turns out more guns are pointed at Jimin than at Bale, but there is no fight or other violent action. After completing the mission, Jimin finds a woman who turns out to be the beginning of his meeting with Minnie. Then Minnie gets Jimin's help. This is discovered by Bale and it causes a fight between Jimin and Bale. After that, Jimin is already injured. But when Bale wants to kill him, Minnie shoots a bullet into Bale's eye. So Bale is killed by Jimin. Furthermore, the building is destroyed with a bomb. Everyone returns to the headquarters after everyone has completed the mission. Jimin asks for information about what happened there when Bale is killed. He says that Bale was trapped while helping him in the building and finally he was killed by a bomb explosion there. After that, he asks General Lee Yonghan for a leave of absence because he has been working too long. But while he is gone, General Lee Yonghan calls someone to check on Jimin. On the way home, Jimin is followed by the general's men. But Jimin has a reliable friend, Honda, who helps Jimin on the way home. This is the beginning of Jimin returning home as he hasn't been home for 8 years. After the completion of the mission, all the teams praise Bale. But it turns out that when Sanjo is practicing for long-distance shooting, Bale comes to him. So Bale is still alive. 3 men need a big box containing a stash of weapons hidden in a rice sack. The package comes from Jian, and within there is also a woman who was held captive. After the 3 men took the weapons, the woman inside the box turned out to be Min-hai, who arrived at Honda's home. He was shocked and received a message from Jian to take care of Mei-hai for a while. Seeing in the past, Jian's family took a photo with his mother, older brother, brother-in-law, and nephew Jian. The photo seen by his mother, who was being hospitalized, accompanied by Jian as he addressed his apologies for not being a good son, and that his mother telling him to leave because soon his brother would take care of his mother and ask him to take care of Jian. Jian also leaves his mother. Honda, in front of his shop, receives a package containing a weapon that must be assembled, and he goes into his hidden house and opens the package. But while opening the package, he sees on his CCTV there is someone in front of his shop. He takes the weapon and looks out of the hidden room to look outside the shop, and it turns out that the person on the CCTV is Jian. Jian asks him how is his security so whack. He is an arms dealer. Then they head into the hidden room and Min-hai sees Jian enter. Then she hugs Jimin. After that, Min-hai goes to sleep. While Min-hai is sleeping, Honda and Jian talk about the murder victim whose body had not been found and told him about Honda's plan to have an online gun shop that would be made by his computer-savvy brother, and he told Jimin that Min-hai could assemble the gun that had just arrived at his shop. Jian was surprised by that. At night in the hospital, Bale comes to see his mother. It turns out that Bale murders his mother, but it is rigged so that it is not known by others. This is planned by Jimin's enemy group by killing his family so that he could appear to meet Bale. Then his mother's funeral and condolences have been prepared. Jin Man asks his brother to autopsy his mother because of his mother's sudden death, but his brother does not agree. After Jin Man takes Jian home, Jin Man's enemy Songjo comes to his mother's funeral, introducing himself as Jin Man's old friend. He tells him that he brings a bouquet of flowers, but it's difficult to bring it here. He also asks Jin Man's brother and brother-in-law to help him carry the bouquet. But it turns out that they are taken to the top of the building to be killed. There is already a group of Jin Man's enemies who are waiting. On top of the building, Jin Man's brother and sister-in-law are killed, but a scenario is made so that it does not look like they are killed. So the scenario is Jin Man's sister-in-law has cheated on Jin Man's brother, and Jin Man's brother is angry, so he kills his wife and commits suicide by jumping from the top of the building. When Jin Man and Jian are home, Jin Man receives a call from Jungcheol saying that Bale is still alive and is targeting her family. He immediately leaves Jian at home alone. But because he already knew that his enemy would come to kill Jian, he reaches for Honda to come to his brother's house to protect Jian. Before leaving, he tells Jian that his friend is coming, and the proof that he is his friend is that he could answer the riddle that Jian gave to that person. Not long after that, when Jian is alone, someone tries to open the door of her house. Then Jian gives a riddle to prove he is really his uncle's friend. But apparently not. It turns out the one who answers the riddle is the enemy. When the enemy just arrived at the door, Honda comes and they fight. He manages to defeat his enemy and meet Jian to answer the riddle. After that, he tells Jian to go into her room. Not long after that, there's a shootout and Songjo kills Honda. Jian witnesses it. Before that, he promised to go home before dinner to his sister and have dinner together. But Honda is killed by Songjo. While on the way, Jin Man is hampered by a car that breaks down in front of him. A girl asks Jinmin for help by borrowing his phone, but Jinmin chooses to leave. It turns out that his car is hit from behind by a truck that is about to attack him. Then there's a shootout again, but he manages to escape. Meanwhile, Songjo finds Jian in her room and finds that Jian has gone out through her window. She jumps down to escape. But when Jian is running, she's hit by a car and taken to the hospital, so Songjo no longer pursues her. After Honda dies at the hands of Songjo, his troops go to Honda's shop to bring Minhai. But when they manage to get into the hidden room, Minhai is ready to fight them, and finally they are shot dead by Minhai. She is also getting ready to go out and carry a lot of weapons in her bag. When she's about to leave, she burns all the rooms so that there would be no evidence. Then Jin Man goes to Paison's house when he gets shot by Jungcheol's troops, and Paison helps to treat his wound. He tells him that he wants to do the right thing when he saw the women that Bale killed unnaturally. He also wants to put Bale in prison, so he asks Paison for a gun. But Paison does not want anything to do with Babylon. On the other hand, Bale's group gathers. They are discussing Jin Man, who becomes a traitor. Then suddenly another Babylon leader comes to Bale and tells him not to be too ambitious for Jin Man. It is because Jin Man would be taken care of by the company, but Bale does not accept that and would still kill Jin Man with his own hands. Then there is a past scene about little Jian, who was in the hospital. Bale's troops came to the hospital to take Jian. But while chasing Jian, Jin Man found out about it. He immediately killed the two men who were setting up the hospital CCTV so they couldn't be seen. He also knew that the other person was chasing Jian to the morgue room, so he went straight to the morgue room and helped Jian. After that, Jin Man went to the general of Babylon. He asked for help to tell Bale that he wanted to quit, but he began all his preparations to fight and defend against Bale's attacks. Then Jin Man and his troops began to build a house and weapon warehouse in the house. Jin Man also takes Honda's younger brother to be cared for by him, while Paison teaches Minhai to fight. After that, Jin Man teaches the grown-up Jian. That is the beginning of Jin Man, Paison, Minhai, and Jian fighting with Bale. In the evening, there are Seong-ju and two twin men who are Seong-ju's colleagues in the military. They look ready to attack Jin Man's house directly. They intend to finish Jian, who is in the house. Meanwhile, inside the house, Paison, who just arrived, is treating Minhai, who is badly injured. On the other hand, brother, who tries to get into the secret bunker through the way previously passed by Jian, then realizes that the secret way can no longer be passed, as Jin Man sets a trap that automatically activates if there is no one inside who can access the secret bunker. Brother, who knows that, then immediately returns to meet Jian. Brother explains that Jian, Paison, Minhai, and brother cannot enter the bunker for 24 hours. Paison, who hears that, instantly panics because he worries about Jian's safety. Paison thinks that the worst will come. In that dangerous situation, brother notices that someone inside the bunker is accessing Mirth Help's shopping server. It turns out that the person trying to access the Mirth Help website is Jong Min, who's getting beat up by Jian. Jong Min is able to break free from the ties that bind his leg. Without giving up, Jong Min plans to attack Jian. In addition, Jong Min is also trying to attack the Babylon company. Zhongmin is doing that because he feels he is not considered by Babylon. But Jian is aware of Zhongmin's actions and wants to fight her. Jian then tells brother to stop Zhongmin's action. Not long after, something that the three of them don't expect happens, because a robot dog that Min Hai put down suddenly moves again. Payson, who sees this, immediately tries to destroy the robot dog. However, the dog robot emits a sonar wave that instantly makes everyone helpless. Payson then orders Jian to quickly leave through the secret way. Meanwhile, Payson and Min Hai will stop the dog robot. But from an unpredictable direction, a car then comes crashing into Jin Man's house. This causes the house to be even more devastated. While Min Hai and Payson are still limping, Seonju and his two twin friends are visible from inside the car. Unfortunately, Payson and the injured Min Hai can't immediately save Jian because the twins block the seriously injured Min Hai and Payson. Then Payson, who sees Min Hai seriously injured, challenges the twins, who are Payson's colleagues in the military, to a duel. The twins easily accept Payson's challenge by using a blade. After a while of fighting, Payson loses. Although initially Payson manages to overwhelm the twins, but Payson, who feels exhausted and alone, still loses. Meanwhile, in Jian's room, Seonju looks for Jian, who is hiding under the bed. Soon Jian, who is already firmly determined, tries to attack Seonju secretly. But Jian's action is not going easily because Seonju is much stronger than Jian. Seonju manages to break Jian's attack. Meanwhile, Jian, who is desperate, suddenly hears the sound of someone coming towards her. The man is brother, who is trying to help Jian. Brother tells Jian to run away as soon as possible, but Seonju again defeats brother by shooting him. Jian tries to run away from the house, but Jian finds Payson and Min Hai facing off against the twins. Fortunately, Min Hai, with her remaining strength, makes one of the twins helpless. Soon Payson kills the remaining twin with a broken frame. Payson tells Jian to leave while Payson tries to deal with the alive twin. On her escape, Jian tries to enter the bunker through the way that Jian and Zhongmin pass. Sadly, the elevator is just one way, so Jian can't get to the lower floors. Shortly after Jian is in Jin Man's workplace, Jian learns that Seonju comes to fight Jian. In an urgent situation, Jian then recalls Jin Man's advice about surviving in any situation. Finally, Jian makes a plan to trap Seonju. Meanwhile, Seonju, who still feels that Jian is a teenager, actually plays with Jian. Seonju acts without awareness. Jian, who knows Seonju's carelessness, chooses to take advantage of the situation. After a while of the two of them looking for each other, Jian finally gets her gun at Seonju. But because Jian is yet to shoot someone, she hesitates to finish off Seonju. Moreover, Jian knows that Seonju is the one who kills Jian's parents. At the same time, Jian and Seonju are surprised to hear the sound of the elevator from below suddenly going up. Seonju, who knows it, immediately hides from Jian's presence. Likewise with Jian, who also chooses to hide at first. Meanwhile, it turns out that the person who gets on the elevator is Zhongmin. Zhongmin, who doesn't know the situation, immediately picks up a gun and fires it randomly. Zhongmin is upset and wants to avenge Jian's actions. Other than that, Zhongmin makes a deal with the Babylon company. Until Zhongmin realizes that the gun he is carrying is out of bullets, Seonju hears that immediately comes out and without much talk directly throws an axe at Zhongmin's head. Jian takes advantage of the incident to get into the bunker. Seonju, who finds out the way to the bunker, then follows Jian. When Seonju arrives at the bunker, Seonju is amazed and surprised to see that there are many weapons inside. Seonju doesn't think that Jin Man successfully builds a secret bunker that is very sophisticated. Seonju, who gets an assignment from Babylon to eliminate Jian in order to seize Jin Man's secret bunker, is now getting serious. Seonju doesn't act like a careless person. Seonju also feels that Jian is not a teenager anymore. Then the man immediately looks for the whereabouts of Jian, who is constantly hiding. Seonju then initiates to install an explosive device to trap Jian, but Jian, who is now getting used to facing dangerous situations, tries to calm down and look for opportunities to defeat Seonju. Although Jian is almost in danger when she accidentally touches the explosive device set up by Seonju. As a result of Jian touching the explosive, Jian bounces and falls. But Jian gets up again and continues her plan to trap Seonju. While above, the twin is chasing Payson. One of the twin men unknowingly enters the way that brother claims to have set a trap. Eventually, when the man forces his way into the secret way, the bomb just explodes. Inside the bunker, Seonju continues to search for Jian's whereabouts. Seonju accidentally sees the bloodstains that Jian leaves behind. Seonju believes that he can easily find Jian. However, Seonju's assumption is wrong because suddenly a forklift that Jian is driving crashes into Seonju. But Seonju quickly avoids Jian. Unfortunately, Seonju forgets that he put an explosive there, so Seonju bounces like Jian before. But Seonju still looks strong. Unluckily, Seonju steps into the trap that Jian set. Seonju's body is full of gasoline. Meanwhile, Jian prepares to shoot Seonju. Seeing that Seonju feels that Jian is unable to pull the trigger of the gun because Jian never shoots someone before. But Seonju is sadly wrong. Jian admits that she never shoots people but Ji and is able to shoot a floor that is wet with gasoline. This makes Seonju's body instantly burn. But soon after, Jian doesn't realize that the bunker is very sophisticated. So the fire sparks water from the ceiling. Therefore, Seonju's body, which is on fire, begins to dry out. Seonju feels like Jian is playing tricks on him. In anger, Seonju grabs an axe and tries to kill Jian. But without Seonju expecting it, Jian finally dares to shoot Seonju to death. Shortly after that, Brother, who is still alive, comes to see Jian. It turns out that Brother uses a bulletproof vest before Seonju shoots him. Brother says that Payson is still alive, but Minhai's condition is critical due to severe injuries. Brother then accesses Mirth Help's main server to change the bunker to defense mode. However, Brother sees from the CCTV that Mirth Help customers with red codes or killers are arriving. They try to break into the bunker because they want the reward money that Babylon offers as a reward if they can kill Jian. Seeing that, Jian is in a panic because she realizes that she can't keep resisting the attacks of the people who are targeting her. Jian then thinks about how to solve this incident. Jian finally comes up with an idea to send the killers away. Moments later, Jian notices that the killers are entering the place. They are all surprised by Jian's voice. In addition, they also see Brother, who is already carrying something. Like Jinman, Jian says to all the killers if Jian is currently the owner of Mirth Help who can access anything like Jinman. For this reason, Jian offers the killers who come that Jian will give money as a reward as the Babylon company promises. But if they do not want to leave and insist on killing Jian, then their fate will be the same as Seonju, who is dead. At the same time, the killers are shocked to see Seonju's head that Brother brings. The killers feel scared about that. They slowly leave and choose to back away. They think that Jian's offer is more advantageous than forcing their way in to attack Jian. It turns out that Payson and Minhai can hear Jian, who manages to make an offer with the killers. Payson is very proud of Jian. Payson tries to tell Minhai, but Payson sees that Minhai is dead. Jian feels the situation is quite safe. Then Jian decides to see how Payson and Minhai are doing. But after a few moments, she looks for Payson and Minhai at Jinman's house. Jian doesn't find them. This makes Jian sad and she doesn't know what to do next. In the midst of the sadness Jian is feeling, from a distance, Jian sees a bus coming. Jian is annoyed and tired. Therefore, she dares to block the bus alone. But it seems that the bus is not an enemy, but a corpse-cleaning group or people with yellow codes. The cleaning route clean the corpses in Jinman's house and in the bunker until morning. But suddenly a car comes towards them. Jian and the cleaning group prepare to fight the person in the car. But it appears that the person in the car is not Jian's enemy. Jian looks surprised to see the person who gets out of the car. The person in the car appears to be Jinman.